Good morning. You know what today is? Hump day! Mike. People in the house, so I have to be quiet. So, during the Vietnam War, the United States government found out, to its surprise, that a large number of soldiers were addicted to heroin, a large percentage. Somewhere in the 25% of in active combat were actively using heroin. And heroin, incredibly addictive and the most difficult drug to get off of. The government set up a whole series of systems to, when we brought the soldiers back, to try to get them off of this drug and put them into rehab and move them on to the next stage of their life. Well, to their surprise, a large majority of the soldiers, when they came back from Vietnam, didn't need inpatient treatment and, in fact, were able to walk away from heroin simply by coming home, and they stopped using heroin. Well, why? Well, number one, it wasn't as readily available and it was illegal, and for a large portion of them, that did it. But they also were not in an environment where it was socially acceptable. They weren't in an environment where other people were doing it, and they weren't under the stresses of war. And they found, because of those factors being removed, suddenly a huge percentage of them didn't need to go to inpatient treatment. They were able to just quit. Some did, but very few did. So what does that tell us? Well, that tells us when it comes to habits, even an incredibly addictive, difficult habit to break can be broken simply because of changes in location and changes in approach, changes in your environment, and changes in your attitude towards what's going on in your world. So, those posters at work, those inspirational posters that we put up actually do make a difference. Your work environment does make a difference. Your home environment does make a difference. If your home environment is stressful, that's going to create different outcomes than if your home environment is not stressful. Now, how you manage that is everything, right? We can't control our environment. We can only control our response to it. So what is stressful is up to your interpretation. But the point being is how you set things up does matter. So you do have to set yourself up for success. If your problem is that you don't want to drink nearly as much, well, you got to make the decision to not have the alcohol in your house. You got to make the decision to not go out on a Friday night. Don't go out and say, I'm going to go out and just drink water with the same people that you've gone out and drank with for the last 10 years. That's not going to work. Don't go out and say, I'm going to drink vodka tonight instead of beer, and then I'm only going to have 3 drinks instead of 15. Okay, that's also not going to work. One of the things that addicts have to do is they have to get a new peer group, because the peer group that they're with are typically addicts or certainly enablers in that capacity. Well, when the soldiers left Vietnam and came back and they were in a different peer group, it was a lot easier to get off heroin than it was if they had stayed in Vietnam. So you need to take a look at who you're going to surround yourself with. If your significant other also takes part in that same addiction, whether it's alcohol or smoking or eating, you're going to have to deal with that. Because in order for you to change your ways, you need to be in a different environment in order to get that done. Not necessarily, you can still do it and still be in the same environment. It's just going to be harder than if you're able to change the environment. So if you want to change your ways in terms of eating, if your spouse goes with you, it's going to be a lot easier than if your spouse doesn't go with you. If you smoke and your significant other smokes, if you both quit at the same time, that's going to be a lot easier than if one quits while the other one stays smoking. And in terms of productivity, in terms of creating new habits, that's another way that you can look at your environment to set yourself up for success. If you want to eat better, take away all the bad things in the house and put in nothing but good things. If you got a stack of really good-looking apples sitting in the middle of your countertop, it's going to be a lot easier to grab one of those as opposed to going to the pantry and grabbing a cookie. If you have certain things that you munch on a consistent basis, get rid of them, get them out of the house, and put new things that you can munch on that are going to be a lot more helpful. If your work environment, look at the same thing. Does the work environment have a bunch of snacks that aren't really good for you? Then get rid of them. and replace them with a bunch of things that are in fact healthy for you. Does your work environment inspire you? Take a look around. What's the lighting like? What's the furniture like? Can you move around and stand up? Do you have infusers so that things smell good? Do you have nice sounds going on? Is there music? All of those things make a difference in terms of how you're going to feel in your productivity. Now, at the end of the day, we decide how we feel. It isn't the environment, but the environment can help. And if it's something that you can control, these studies that were done at the end of Vietnam shows that change in the environment can be very helpful in terms of your ability to manage anything that you may be addicted to or any new habits that you want to create. If you want to read on a regular basis, turn the TV off and have the book sitting there, pick it up and start looking at it. Start out small. Maybe you only start out with 5 minutes a day, but then the next day do 7, then the next day do 9, then the next day do 12. And before you know it, you're going to be reading an hour a day and you're going to be plowing through books. Take the time to look around and see how your environment can help you out. And again, at the end of the day, it's up to you. It's up to us as to how we respond to any of these events. But the environment clearly can make a difference. So when you're going to make a big change, whether it's smoking or how you're going to lose some weight or whatever it is you're going to do, or your finances, take the time to look at the surroundings that you have and improve them in a way so that they can assist you along these changes. And the biggest thing, remember, the 5 people that you spend the most time with is who you become. So if the people that you're spending time with are addicted to the same things that you want to stop your addiction to, that's not going to be helpful. You're going to have to change your peer group. Doesn't mean you're going to have to leave them forever, but you're going to have to take a break in order to develop your new habits, and then you can go back and be the new you. And you never know, you might lead them in a different direction so that they decide to change their habits too. Have a great day, everybody. Thank you very much for watching. We're all in this together. Let's take care of each other.